Yo, welcome back to another episode of In the Mind of Dame. I'm your host, that boy Dame. Y'all know who it is, man. But welcome back to another episode 2, second week in a row, man. We back again with another episode for today, man. First, I just want to say shout out to everybody that checked out episode 1, man. It meant a lot. For me right now, it's early on in this thing. So for me, I'm just trying to get reps in, just trying to build a consistent flow of getting an episode done every week and just trying to get better at it. So, these to me are like rough drafts, just building up a resume of episodes and stuff like that. But I appreciated people who checked it out anyway. Let me know, gave me any feedback. I really do appreciate it. So just want to say shout out to everybody that did that, man. And I'm going to keep trying to be consistent, bro. I'm going to keep trying to be consistent. And we're going to build something dope, man. So if you guys don't mind, man, follow the Instagram page at In the Mind of Dame on Instagram. Also, follow the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, man. Leave a like on the episode or rate the show 5 out of 5. Help your boy get on the algorithm. You know what I'm saying? Help your boy get on the algorithm. But this week's episode, man, ain't really too much going on. I ain't really have many topics for today, so we're going to probably not have too long of an episode. But I do got some dope topics, though. I do got some dope ones, so we're going to get into it, man. I hope everybody had a good week, though. Hope everybody had a good week. My week's been chill. Had a lot of work to do in terms of my job. They started like a Black Friday sale early, so last weekend we were pushing out like 100 TVs, bro. The TV deals on Black Friday. I've been working at Walmart for a good minute now, and man, like a 50-inch TV for 128 on a Black Friday sale is wild. Like I have a 50-inch TV in my room that I'm looking at right now, and I'm like, nigga, I paid like $248 when I got this joint. I took I took a discount on this, so I think it maybe dropped it down to like $220 or something of the sorts. But man, 128 for a TV, a 50-inch TV is crazy. Like I thought about buying one. I ain't even got $128 just to spend on the TV on a random day. But man, Black Friday deals are crazy, bro. So make sure y'all saving y'all money up, man. Just don't come to Walmart. I'm just playing. But nah, man. Besides that, man, I seen 2 new movies in this past week. It's a movie called Now You See Me, Now You Don't. It's part of a trilogy of Now You See Me. It's about these magicians who are pulling like these crazy heists or whatever. Just a quick review on it without spoiling it. Yeah, I didn't like that one as much. Like I would give it like a 6 out of 10. I just felt like for me, it just wasn't that funny. You know what I'm saying? I felt like it was just super unrealistic. Like I know it's a movie about magicians pulling heists using magic, but even that joint was crazy. Just some of the tricks in there, it was just wild. Like I was with some homies or whatever, and the dude I was sitting next to, he was just like, the most entertaining part of the movie is sitting next to you and you just looking over every time they do something outlandish. I'm like, yeah, bro, this shit is wild. Like this shit not even making no sense for real. Like these niggas out here, bro. One trick they did, bro. The girl, the trick was with a card, and they did literally 20 tricks off of this one card. They ripped the joint up, and the girl walked through the card, and it turned into a dress. I just was like, come on now, bro. Like that's not even close to real. Like I'm all for magic and shit. I know it's all an illusion, but nigga, how the hell how you turn a card into a dress, bro? Made no sense. But anyway, so yeah, so if you already seen the first 2 movies, it's no much different than the other 2 in my opinion. It's not that much different. And then I seen another movie called The Running Man. I actually thought that movie was fire. That movie was legitimately fire. It's basically kind of set like a futuristic society, and the dude joins a competition where he has to outrun killers for 30 days in order to get money or whatever. So it was a dope movie, man. I love the social commentary that was in it. I'm not really the biggest fan of action comedy movies, just because for me, I never take the action part too serious. Like whenever I see an action comedy movie, 90% of the movies I've seen that are in that genre, more likely than not, are going to lean so much more into the comedy aspect. The action parts are just like not as good. But this one had a good mix, bro. I think it was legitimately funny, and it had a good storyline with it. And the action wasn't bad. The action was actually pretty entertaining. So if you guys had a chance, man, check that one out. I thought that one was actually really well done. And that was pretty much my week, man. In terms of fun things I did, that was kind of it. Like really just going to the movies and checking out two movies that I thought were pretty dope. I have a also if you guys don't have it, bro, get the AMC like stub membership or whatever. It basically like you pay like $25 a month, and you basically get to see four movies every week. You don't have to pay for the ticket. You just literally reserve a ticket, and for the month, you get to see four movies, up to four movies a week. And that's how I've been seeing so many movies. I really wasn't a big movie guy prior to this year, but now since I got it and I'm spending 25, most of the time I'm just like, screw it. Like if there's anything that even remotely catches my interest, I'm hitting the theater because why the fuck not? You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen a lot of movies this year. That's why next month, I'm definitely gonna do like a list of best movies of the year, best albums of the year. Like I'm definitely gonna do that for this year for sure. I'm gonna try to make a list of things I thought for this year. But definitely, I would say Running Man. I would say top 12 movie this year. I left out the theater saying top 10, but then so many great movies came out this year. Like this movie year was heat. Like I'm talking about Demon Slayer was heat, Sinners was heat, One Battle After Another, Weapons was good. Like there was a lot of good movies this year, so it's like I gotta really think about it and really be like, well, does this make it in the top 10? Because I've seen some really good movies this year. So yeah, so that was kind of my week, man. But I hope everybody had a great week, man. Hopefully y'all did something fun. It wasn't just work filled. I know episodes come out on Thursday, so just one more day of the week, bro. Push through that Friday, man, and enjoy your weekend and everything. But first, let's get into our first topic, man. First topic. I am a music head, as everybody in here knows. Everybody who listens to the pod knows. I'm a huge music fan, so I'm gonna do two albums I listened to recently. They came out recently, and I wanted to talk about them. First album I want to get into is Summer Walker's new album, Finally Over It. And I got to give a little background. To it or whatever. I did not listen to Summer Walker that much prior to her new album coming out. I really just feel like, I don't know, like I knew she was talented. I didn't think I questioned the talent. I just feel like I had, and this is on me, I'll take full blame for it. I feel like with her, I don't know. I don't really like listening to people stay in relationships I think are stupid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're with a dude and he's constantly cheating on you and he's getting other women pregnant, and then you kind of get on a record and they're just like, fuck this dude. He does this to me all the time. And then all these people start like making it their anthem. To me, it's just like, bro, just leave. Like, what? Like, why stay in that relationship with a dude who doesn't respect you, who doesn't love you, who is cheating on you? What's the point? Like, what is the point? Why sit in that relationship? So for me, kind of hearing somebody kind of croon over it for however long, I'm like, man, this just doesn't excite me, right? But I kept hearing good reviews about the album. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Everybody's super excited about it. They championed the first two albums. So I said, before I get to this new one, I'm going to listen to the first two. And I ain't going to hold you, bruh. I've been sleeping because those first two albums, oh my goodness, they are heat. They are good. I can't hate. The first one to me, Over It, I think a lot of people do have a lot of respect for that one, and I do too. But to me, it felt more mixtape-ish to me. Like, the songs are a lot shorter. It feels like it kind of goes in and out real quick. Pause. It just feels like the songs were shorter. Like, they didn't feel like super like drawn out. It was kind of like almost like kind of how rap songs can be sometimes nowadays, where rap songs are like 2 minutes. We drop the verse, hook. That's pretty much it. It felt like the songs were finishing a lot quicker than I expected to, because I don't really listen to a lot of R&B music where it's like under 3 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the songs were really quicker than what I anticipated. But to me, I still enjoyed it though. But we get to that second album. Woo boy. Oh my gosh. Still Over It. I'm telling y'all, bro. I was at work listening to this while I was working. And it felt like almost every song I was just like, yo, this is so good. Like, I legitimately was blown away by how good the second album is. Like, Bitter, I thought was great. Then I get to X for a Reason. I played that joint like 5 times in a row. It gets to No Love. I love that one. Reciprocate. You Don't Know Me. Insane. Switch a Nigga Out. Closure. Like, it unloyal. Like, there was some great records on this joint. And it kind of blew me away, bro. And I loved the narrative of the album. Even though I feel like for me, it's like, girl, you can do so much better. You do not have to sit through this toxic bullshit. I got it. I understood it. So I enjoyed it still. Like I enjoyed it for what it was, and even for what it was, I still thought it was really, 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 really good. It was really well done. I almost like I really do like the second one more than the first one. I think it's my favorite, honestly, even after listening to the last one that just came out last Friday. So I crank all two of them. I'm like, all right, bet. I think I'm finally ready for this last one. Get to finally over it. See, it's 2 disc, 18 tracks. And I will say this, 18 tracks for me, I don't care how long the album is. That's always going to be like, god damn, like 18 songs I got to sit through is always going to feel like a lot. So it was split up in between 2 discs, as y'all know. And starting off with disc 1, I really thought this one was really good. Like, I think if I had to compare the 2 discs, I like the first disc more than the second one. But there's some good records on the first one. Like, I love Heart of a Woman. Me listening to the album was the first time I heard the song, and I can see why people really fuck with that one. That's probably my favorite one, honestly. 1-800-Heartbreak, that Anderson .Paak verse was crazy. I surprisingly like Go Girl, bro, with Lotto and Doja Cat. I thought that track was heat too. No, I thought was a great one. You know, like there were some good joints on that first one. Give Me a Reason with Bryson. Then it gets to this too. And I feel like I kind of started to fall off a little bit. Like I wasn't enjoying it as much, but it was still good. You know what I mean? FMT I thought was dope. Surprisingly, bruh, I like Baller, bruh. I like the Baller, bruh. I like the joint with Sexy Red and Glorilla and Mona Leo. Shout out to her, bruh. All their verses were dope. It's a catchy song, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Like that joint is I need a baller shaka. That joint hard, my nigga. That joint hard. That joint was heat. So I really did bang with it. All in all, like I said, I think if I had to rate all the albums, for me, I ain't gonna lie. Still over it. Like I would give that one like an 8 out of 10. I think this new one, I think that's a 7 out of 10. And I kind of did hear a little bit of the criticisms about it. You know, I watched Joe Budden podcast, and I think he kind of said he felt like this album, and maybe I just haven't listened to enough Summer. Even though I listened to the first 3, maybe I haven't sat with the albums long enough to be like able to give like an actual thought or opinion about it. But when I listened to it, Joe Budden's point was more like, who was this about? Who was this for? It felt like she alienated her core fan base. And a part of me is listening to it. I guess maybe because I'm just listening to it more for the musical enjoyment, and I'm just kind of like, I guess, following along with the narrative of the album. I guess I didn't really hear that it was that much different. Like I didn't listen to it and think, oh man, she took this complete 180 over somewhere else. It just didn't really come off that way to me. It kind of felt like, to me, I think the one thing I kind of sat with listening to it was kind of like, damn man, like you still kind of sitting through this bullshit. Like that's kind of like, and like I said, like that's kind of my initial reaction to it. But I think stylistically, I didn't think it was super different. I mean, it was kind of what she does, you know. It's a laid back, slower kind of R&B. You kind of make it smooth, but you put a little bit of trap in it, you know, get you some cool vocal samples and shit like that. And then she's singing. So I think for me, that was kind of like the one thing I guess I kind of got from it was maybe the narrative. Like when listening to Joe Budden, it's not like the narrative of it wasn't really what I guess her core fan base isn't used to. But I guess I just, from listening to it, I mean, it kind of felt like that's what the trilogy felt to me. Like, okay, bet, like she's finally over it. Like she's finally leaving this nigga that she's been having this toxic relationship with, and is like kind of ready to move on, I guess. I don't know. That's kind of just what I kind of got from it. And it just felt like if we're looking at the narrative of the album and people aren't liking it because of it, I feel like that's kind of weird to just be like, oh, well, the narrative of it isn't something that we aren't used to. Like artists got to grow eventually. Like, you know, Still Over It is what, 4 years old now at this point. You know, if this girl had came out and was rapping or singing songs that was exactly kind of in that same bag 4 years later, I think I would dislike it just because I'm like, you know what, the music is good, but damn, like you haven't grown from this at all. So I feel like for me, if these records in the way that she's moving on is by being outside and oh I should have robbed him or whatever. Like I guess for me, I don't look at it as that big of a deal because I think I can just look at it and maybe because I'm not her core fan base and maybe I don't get like a specific like I don't really relate. Like I don't really relate. So I think I can just look at it at face value and it be enjoyable. So maybe that's kind of how I walked away with it. I still think it was an enjoyable album, you know, for somebody that really kind of was turned off by her music for the past couple years. For me to actually have given it a real chance and it be actually really dope, I enjoyed it, bro. I think she's actually really good. Like, you know what I mean? Had I actually been supporting her music when the albums were dropping, I probably would have like crazy statements. I'll be like, "Oh, she like the best R&B singer right now in the game." Like all the other girls, like I would have had some really crazy statements. But like I said, this album was really good. I thought it was enjoyable. I think if you're a Summer Walker fan, I don't think you should feel any type of way about it. To me, this sounds like what she's been doing, bro. This sounds just like good music. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I took it. So the second album I want to talk about is from the DMV, as y'all know. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk about Wale. We're gonna talk about Wale. Now, I gotta give a little bit more backstory on him too. I grew up when Wale was first on the scene. Like I watched his career grow. Now, you know, I'm talking about I feel like I watched his impact in real time, especially in the community I've grown up in. Like being from around here, it's just like it was hard to like miss his music. It was hard to not know who he was. You know what I'm saying? Like it just felt like, and even now, like I still support him because he's from the area. Like he's not from my hometown, but I mean he ain't that far away. Like he's like, you know, he's from 30 minutes away from me damn near. So there's a part of me that does feel like, you know what, I try to root for him as best I can. But in the past couple years, I'm kind of feeling like, you know what, as much as I support bro, I'm not the biggest fan of it. Like I'm not the biggest fan of his music. Let me say that. I think, granted, I haven't really listened to what people deem to be his classic albums, but I think for me, I just haven't really heard enough that made me even want to do it. Like, I'm gonna just be honest. Like, I just feel like for me, I understand why people like Wale, and not just even just in my hometown. I'm just talking about just in general. As an artist, I think he's a good lyricist. I think, you know, he has some good. He has classics, like classic songs. People could argue classic albums. I'm not going to try to debate that with anybody, but for me, it's just I never listened to him or his music and just was really like, man, I really want to see what he would do for a whole album. I just never felt that way. And so kind of coming into this new album, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a chance. You know what I mean? I'm always trying to give it a chance as much as I can with him, especially because I want to support, you know. And I heard really good reviews about it. I heard Joe Budden and them talking about it. You know, I am a Joe Budden podcast fanatic, by the way. I'm gonna be honest. But I listened to it and it just didn't change my opinion of him. Like I think I just kind of left out of that project just saying, you know what? I'm just not a fan of his music like that. I didn't really feel like for me, I heard anything from him that really blew me away. Like when listening to this album, it feels like let me start off with one thing, right? Because I was hearing reviews about it before it came out. And there was this kind of level like I remember I said something like, man, his label heard some of these records and they didn't hear a single. And I guess I heard single worthy material. But there was really nothing on this album that made me feel like, man, he's so much different now as an artist. I just didn't hear that. I think he's been through some stuff as you can hear lyrically, like you can hear that he has been kind of going through some things in his personal life. But when I listened to it musically, it didn't really feel any differently than what I feel like I've heard before. I think he had more Afrobeat type stuff on there. You know, I heard like a lot more of that type of sound on there. But even for me, I don't really listen to that sound because it just doesn't really like do anything for me. So that really wasn't like anything exciting. It was just like, okay, that's pretty interesting that he does that. But for a good portion of the album, it kind of just felt like Wale. Like it felt like the Wale formula of Wale is a beast at the rap R&B collab. When you think about the love hate thing, when you think about Lotus Flower Bomb, Diced Pineapples, like Bad, all these cuts that he's had before, it's kind of like, okay, cool. Like I think I like those songs growing up. I like them now. It felt like that was kind of most of this album too. Like it didn't really feel like it strayed that much out of that way. And I think for me, for a whole album full, yeah, it just doesn't really like do anything for me. I kind of just got bored after a while. I'm like, okay, another track about a girl. Okay. Okay, another track about one. Okay. Like it just felt like to me the whole album was kind of that ilk of just R&B, rap type of songs. He threw some Afro beats in there, but nothing that I felt like I really grasped to as like a fan of just music in general, and felt like, okay, this is different than what he's been doing. I just didn't hear anything different. And like I said, it wasn't nothing that made me listen to it and be like, oh, this is, why people are citing the album. Like I just felt like if you were a fan of Wale, you will like this. And if you're not a fan, you would kind of leave out of it feeling the same way. Now that's not to say that there isn't records on here I fucked with. There are some records on here I thought that were really dope. Um, I liked Where to Start. I liked Power and Problems. I liked Tomorrow Today. I liked the joint with Leon. I thought Belly was cool actually. I thought Belly and Blanco was cool. And Survive. I thought Survive was pretty cool. So I got a couple joints. Corner Bottles. I thought the flow on that sounded similar because there is a Wale song I liked back in the day, and it was It's Too Late from Summer on Sunset, because I actually do like that project from him. But yeah, from those, outside of those couple songs, I just really wasn't moved by the rest of the album. And that's okay. I think I've grown to be okay with the fact that, hey, maybe I'm just not the biggest Wale fan musically. Maybe I can support as best as I can. I want the brothers to succeed, but when it comes to the music, just not moved, man. I feel like for me, I was having a conversation with some of my guys at work and some of my friends, and I was just like, he's kind of like in that Big Sean tier for me, where I think I see why people are fans of him, but to me, like I think that there's flaws of him that I don't even want to say flaws, because flaws is a bad word, but there's things about him musically I'm just not super excited about. It doesn't really feel like for me I get excited if I hear Wale is about to drop, because I don't really think I'm going to have a long shelf life of listening to the album. And that's kind of what this album gave, because I think once I listened to it for the first time, I haven't thought about clicking it since. And yeah, that's unfortunate. I love Wale. Like I said, certified hit maker around here. Super big around the area. And I want him to succeed. So, that's kind of just my thoughts on the album. Not bad, but not really that good to me. And yeah, that's it. Onto some more music. I kind of said this the other day because I was listening to it, because I don't know. I've been kind of noticing, right? I listen to a lot of luxury rap, and what I define luxury rap as is like basically niggas flexing money, niggas flexing experiences, niggas flexing, just balling, right? And sometimes for me, in certain instances where that might be frustrating to people to hear people rap about how much money they have, sometimes that shit is inspiring. I ain't gonna lie. So one album I think that I listen to again with that ear of like, man, I want to feel inspired. I want to feel motivated to go to the bag. Man, Call Me If You Get Lost, dog. I always felt like Call Me If You Get Lost always had that like feeling of like, oh, Tyler talking his shit. But when you really listen to it and you want to kind of be like, man, I want to be on my Tyler shit too. Man, Call Me If You Get Lost. That nigga is flexing crazy on that joint, bro. And that's one of my favorite Tyler joints. I'm on record saying like that album is incredible. But from when I heard that joint to now and listening to it with the ear of just like, man, I want to get to where he at. Man, that shit was like motivational, because it's also motivational too, because I know Tyler's like coming up story, while also recognizing even in the music now, he's still like talking about, you know, hey, you can get to this point too, chase that dream. And I was watching and I think what did inspire me to listen to it, I was watching his interview where it was like a bunch of NY creatives and him kind of in a room, and it was for a Meta, and they were just basically asking questions. And the interview kind of low key inspired me because the interview was super big on like a lot of the questions that he was asking was kind of basically about like, hey, how do I get over this fear of putting this out? How do I get over this fear of releasing this? Oh, I get nervous about this because what if people don't think it's cool? And you just kind of kept hearing them say, bro, do it. Like, do it. Like, chase that dream, bro. Like, stand on your art. You know what I'm saying? Build the resume up and get better at your craft. You know what I'm saying? Like, really just hone in. And I feel like that interview was inspiring. So I think I listen to a bunch of music at work. I listen to podcasts at work. So I was like, you know what, man, I just feel like being motivated, man. I'm back on my pod shit. I really want this thing to, kind of be my way to like, feed my family one day. Like I want this to be my money maker. I don't want to work for anybody anymore. I want this to be the thing that gets me to success. So I'm like, here I am listening to Tyler and he's flexing his money and he's talking about how he just been to all these different trips and he's got all this shit off of rap or off of shit that he was passionate about. So it kind of was like motivation music to me because I'm like, man, look at him. He chased his dream. He was rapping and he talked about all that shit in the interview with Meta where he was talking about, man, look, I was a young nigga. I had a weak ass camera and we were filming skits off that camera because I was hoping I would get a TV show on Adult Swim, and I got that joint 5 years later. And I'm like, it made me start to want to trust the process a lot more. And then sometimes listening to a nigga rap about how he trusted the process and got to where he at, man, shit, that shit was like hustling music to me, man. So if you looking for any motivation, if you like me, bruh, and you in this kind of like creative field where you really want this thing to work, or maybe not even a creative field, you just want to, like you like luxury, bro. I'm gonna just call it what it is. You like luxury. You really want to, go take yourself on these experiences, whether it's trips, whether get you some nice shit. Call Me If You Get Lost is like real motivational, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Listening to it with a motivational, inspirational ear definitely hits differently because I think I always kind of knew it was that, but I always took it at face value as, man, Tyler made it and he over here rapping about how he made it and how he that nigga now, and I respect it. So listening to it now in the perspective of like, man, like chase that dream, the sky's the limit, and listen to how I did it, and now look at how now listen to how I'm talking. Man, that shit was different. So definitely listen to it again, bro. If you in that bag, if you in that mode of grinding and chasing that dream, bro, go listen to that dream, bro. I'm telling you, like Corso and shit, Lumberjack. Talk about, man, just having that new whip, like, whoo, man, that nigga was talking crazy on that joint. All right, next topic I want to get to, probably wrapping off the episode here, get into a little bit of sports, man. The main sports I watch is NFL, NBA, and I don't know if anybody considers wrestling a sport, but it's sports entertainment. But wrestling is one, and I probably won't talk too much wrestling today because I really don't have any topics on it. But the one NBA topic I do have is, man, there is a lot of injuries this year in the NBA, and I kind of hate it. I really do not like how many injuries are in the NBA. And there's nothing I can do to control it, of course, or the players can do. I mean, they don't want to be hurt. But I can't be the only one that feels like, man, this is way different than what it was my whole life. I've never seen, bro, I don't be knowing who the hell is playing when I click on the game. If I watch the Spurs versus the Nuggets, nigga, Wemby out. Wemby's not even playing right now. So it's just crazy to me how many injuries there are this year. And I've really been sitting here and I watch a good amount of basketball podcasts and I'm really listening to them trying to figure out, like, why is all these injuries here? Like, what the hell has happened to the league? Like, is it just the way the game is being played? Is it just the amount of basketball they played? It feels like there's a plethora of reasons why so many guys are sitting out this year or sitting out games and stuff like that. But to me, this just feels like overkill. Like, bro, like I looked at an ESPN one today, and most slides on social media platforms, they only go up to like 10, things that you can swipe over to. And they swiped over to 10, and these were like 10 superstars in the NBA. and they were still missing people. Like there was still like a plethora of players where I was like, damn, they forgot to even include Bron in the slides. You know what I'm saying? Bron played his first game like 2 days ago, bro. His first game of the season, bro. Like, that's wild, son. You know, Wemby out, Giannis out, Paolo's out, Tatum, Hallie, Dame. Just guys galore are just not playing. No Kawhi, surprise, surprise. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of niggas are not hooping this year or have not hooped a lot of games this year. And I think in a way, while it has been bad, it's hard to keep up with because I even catch myself because I try to watch the NBA, but there's so many games on every night. There's no way I can watch film on every single game. But one thing I will say I like is the fact that you are seeing guys come in who maybe not would have had the opportunity to play. And some of these guys are balling. Like, some of these guys are playing extremely well. And they're playing, they're earning a contract as they're playing. You know what I'm saying? And I respect it. I 100% respect it. And honestly, it's made for a little bit more parity, bro. Like, I'm seeing Jalen Johnson. He's killing it for the Hawks right now. He got the Hawks winning games, and they're almost doing better without Trae Young than with him. Like, they're winning way more games. They're a better team defensively. Now, of course, I don't think that they would be better in the long run without Trae, at least this season. But for me, just watching them and seeing that record and looking at how Jalen Johnson, I think he just won Eastern Conference Player of the Week. Bro, that's wild. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like it had to open the game up a lot more. Bruh's usually, to me, when I watch him, I think he's a good all-around player. Like, he can get boards, he can defend a little bit, but he's mostly he mostly scores in transition. Now he has to play in the half court. He has to play make for others. And he's doing the job well. I can't even hate. Look at Austin Reeves, bro. He's been cooking shit. Look at Laurie. Like, this year has been interesting. It's been entertaining in a way where it's like, yeah, we're not really seeing the guys playing. You know, AD's out. You know, there's a lot of guys who aren't playing games, but some of these guys that are having to step up or are playing bigger than what their usual role is, it has been entertaining. And I have to admit, like, look at Laurie, bro. Laurie is killing it for the Jazz. Like, there's really good storylines this year that I really feel like in the NBA where I felt like it definitely 100% hurts that superstars aren't playing. You're really starting to see the importance of depth, how having an all-around team really can keep you afloat even if you have guys missing. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, check out the NBA, man. Like, I think for me, I've been struggling keeping up with it because there's so many games on every single night. But I mean, this has been an interesting year for sure. Probably one of the more interesting years of basketball, of at least the start of a season that I've ever seen. You know what I mean? So, I mean, let me know who y'all like, man. Who's y'all team, man? I'm a Bron fan, so I'm always root for whatever team Bron on. Sorry, not sorry. But if you guys got a team, man, let me know what y'all think about how y'all team doing. And yeah, so to kind of end out this episode, I know this was a bit short. It was just, to me, just a slow week this week, and I ain't really have much to get on. My fault. We're going to do NFL picks, man, for week 12. We're going to do NFL picks. We're going to try to run through all these games. Some teams I'm going to rant about, and other teams I'm going to just let them live. So we're going to start off Bills versus Texans for Thursday night. I'm going to go to Bills. I don't even know if CJ Stroud is playing. He's not going to play. I just checked. So I'm definitely going to go Buffalo. My take on Buffalo, though, I feel like it's an interesting year for Buffalo because, to me, with as bad as the Chiefs, or at least how inconsistent the Chiefs have been, they haven't really looked like their usual self. I fully thought that this was the year for the Bills. Like, seeing the Chiefs struggle, seeing the Ravens struggle, I feel like, to me, this was like a golden runway for the Bills to win, and they have lost some games. And like I said, Josh Allen, you know, he had 6 touchdowns on Sunday, so I ain't gonna be too harsh on him. But he's turning the ball over a little bit more. And granted, you know, it's not like he's dealing with crazy weapons. You know, he has James Cook. You know, his receiving core is, they're okay. They're not the best wide receiving core. I think, you know, he kind of does like a true number one. Keon Coleman, he can't stay on the field, or it hasn't really been producing to what I think the hype has been about him. So, you know, I'll give him a pass, but, you know, the Patriots being the leading being the division leader catches me off guard, and I do feel like, that's I don't want to say inexcusable, but to me, Josh Allen, like especially the games that they have lost this year, like against Atlanta, to me it just feels like I don't know, bro. Like there's no reason you should be down in your division. I know the Patriots are killing, and you lost to the Patriots this year, so I don't know, but I'm gonna pick the Bills to win that game. Uh, let's do my team, man. Pittsburgh, here we go, versus the Chicago Bears. I feel like the Steelers and the Bears are the same team. I feel like we both have flaws. Like when I think of Pittsburgh this year, Pittsburgh to me, I feel like, and we supposed to be this almost every year, but specifically this year, with how much money we put into the defensive side of the ball, we should have been a team where, hey, we can kind of hold it down defensively, but offensively, just put up a couple points per game. We'll try to hold them off on defense. Just don't turn the ball over. And I feel like, when we got A-Rod, it was like almost basically just as good of a game manager as you're going to get, right? Like, yeah, he might be older and he's not moving as well as he did when he was, 33. But he can still make certain throws that a lot of guys in the league can't make. But I think as of recently, as you have seen, it does feel like I'm seeing a lot more now when I watch Pittsburgh that there is a clear limitation to how wide or how large the ceiling is for Pittsburgh's offense because of A-Rod. He's just not able to do certain things anymore. Even when I was watching the game last Sunday, before he got hurt, there were just plays I was watching him. I was like, even the things that I feel like he can control, like not holding on the ball too long and stuff like that. It feels like he's kind of doing that now. And I'm like, damn, like you were supposed to get the ball out in less than 2 seconds. Aaron Rodgers is taking hits. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of it, sometimes when I'm watching, offensive line play isn't the greatest, but he's also holding on to the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like he should have threw it away or something. So it's kind of whatever. So I feel like for me, I'm not as mad at Mason Rudolph maybe starting this week if A-Rod can't go. Because when Mason Rudolph did play, now granted, I will say it's not like the Bengals were preparing for him to play. And plus the Bengals defense is clearly the worst in the league. So I wasn't really like super duper trying to read too much into the offense looking a little bit better with Mason in the game. But I do feel like even for me, Mason's last stint with Pittsburgh, it really wasn't all that bad. And, he's a guy that's been with Pittsburgh for numerous years. So, the coaching staff is definitely familiar with him. Mike Tomlin is familiar with him. So I feel like he can kind of come in and do a job. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's one of the best backups in the league. I just think he can kind of come in and do a job for an offense that he's very familiar with. I feel like he can come in and do a job. And I think the Bears are kind of in a similar boat. The Bears, to me, don't really have a side of the ball that they harp on. They hired Ben Johnson as their coach, so they really were hoping that, hey, we're going to get the offense together. But the offense is hit or miss. Last week they played the Vikings. The offense looked like shit. But then a couple weeks ago, they put up like damn near 50 points against the Bengals. Again, one of the worst defenses in the league. But, they had a good showing against the Cowboys too offensively. So they've had games where I think you kind of are looking where it's like, man, if this team did kind of have both sides of the ball right, they could look pretty good. Now, I think this team is one of those teams where in the NFL, you kind of see a team where their record is what it is because they won close games, but you kind of look at it and you're like, I mean, they could have lost those same games those close games. They could have lost them too. So you really don't know how good this team is. You just kind of going off a record. I think if I had to choose anybody, I'm going to choose my team, of course. I'm going to pick Pittsburgh to win. But I'm very skeptical of it. We come in, and I think we're a 2.5 point underdog. So I think Pittsburgh can squeeze that run out. Now, we are on the road, so I think that could play a factor, but I'm going to go Pittsburgh. Next game, we got Colts versus the Chiefs. I don't know. This is a tough one. I feel like the Colts, they've kind of, they're coming off a bye week, so I'm not too thinking that they're going to come in rusty or whatever. But I haven't been too impressed with them the last 2 weeks. They got shut out by Pittsburgh, and they were overseas and they played somebody I forgot. And I really felt like damn, that game looked like a bit of a struggle. But Jonathan Taylor, I think, had like 3 touchdowns. So obviously, it doesn't really look like an offensive thing. But sometimes for me, I just don't bet against Mahomes for some reason. I just can't. And to me, for the Chiefs, they feel like the more desperate team, and they're at home. So I'm gonna go Kansas City, but I really wouldn't be surprised if the Colts win. Patriots versus Bengals, not much to think about. I'm going to Patriots. Jets versus Raven, not much to think about. I'm going with the Ravens. And this game to me right now on the schedule for Pittsburgh. They have to beat the Bears. I feel like we have to win our winnable games. The Bears is a winnable game because the Ravens have gained traction very quickly. They're like one game behind us for the division. So we really do got to win this game this week. Seahawks versus Titan, not much to think about. I'm going Seattle. Vikings versus the Packers. I don't know. I think for me, I'm having a tough time with this one because I really am not a firm believer of the Packers. I do think that they are a better team than the Vikings. But there's something about the Vikings where I'm just like, yo, if JJ McCarthy was halfway decent, that they could beat them. And I try not to be hard on JJ because I know, this is really his first real year. But damn, like this team really should be a lot better. You know what I'm saying? And I do think it does kind of fall on him because, Justin Jefferson, he can't throw the ball to himself. You know what I mean? The defense, they did a good job against the Bears last week, but JJ didn't play well. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't there's games where he does play well. I think JJ is actually somewhat of a good player. Like I think he definitely has the gutsiness of a NFL player. You know what I mean? Like I've seen him in his very first NFL game lead a game-winning drive. You know what I mean? And he had a tough start to that game. So there's not really anything about him as a player itself from the mental and being able to bounce back from adversity that I'm not worried about. It's just the play on the field. And I kind of thought he could have kind of like a little Bryce Young arc where, you know what, start of the year, it's a bit rough. We're going to sit you down for a little bit, even though he was hurt. We're going to sit you down for a little bit. And then we're going to put you back in. And then, now that you have more time to learn an NFL offense, even though you had a whole rookie year to do that because you didn't play your whole rookie year, maybe this will kind of humble you a little bit and maybe you could come in and do the job better. And he started off well, right? He beat the Lions, but since then it's kind of been downhill. So I really am hoping he finds a bounce back because I really do want to root for JJ because I kind of actually don't hate the Vikings organization. I feel like for them, they really are just a quarterback away from competing. There's really not much else on the team that you really are looking at and saying, well, here's the big issue here. Here's a glaring issue. If you have a quarterback who can't even really throw for over 100 yards in a game, like that's going to limit your ceiling very, very much. And, they're 4-6 at last place in their division. So, they kind of do need this win. But I'm going to go to Packers. I'm going to go to Packers on that one. Giants versus the Lions. I'm going to go to Lions on this one. Not really much to think about there. Jags versus the Cardinals. I'm going to say the Jags win that one, but that sounds like a very mid football game. Browns versus Raiders. This is literally the battle of the mid. For this one, I'm going to go pick Shador, bro. I really don't have any hatred towards the Browns anymore. It's not like they're going to come back and beat us for the division, so they fuck around and win games. I don't really care. So you know what? Go ahead, go out there and have a game, Shador. I ain't mad at you. Falcons versus the Saints. Kirk Cousins will be starting in this game. No Michael Penix for them for the rest of the year. I'm gonna go for Atlanta. I'm rooting for Kirk. I really do want him to have a bounce back because I watched the QB documentary. It's on Netflix, and I can kind of see how Kirk's play definitely dwindled down. Like he really did have a good start to the year last year, and then he got hurt, and then it kind of like messed up his flow for the season. One thing I would say for sure is that the injury he had last year really affected him. He wasn't able to be as efficient throwing the ball. He wasn't able to put as much behind the ball as he usually would before the injury. And it was causing him to not want to take hits. It was causing him to not put as much force behind the ball as he usually does. And that's unfortunate because I still feel like, if you're Atlanta, you didn't pay Kirk all that money just for him to basically be there his first year and get set the fuck down. You know what I mean? So this is his time. This is his time, man. I really feel like, even though Atlanta's record is a bit abysmal, they're not really playing for too much at this point. I feel like Kirk could have a good year. I feel like he could have a good end to the rest of the year. And I ain't gonna lie, even at 3-7, I think the division is out of there, and that was probably their path. You know what I mean? They lost to the Panthers just this last Sunday. That could have really helped if they had won. Even though Michael Penix was hurt, maybe that would have gave, Kirk a little bit more juice. But I hope he can find his way back. You know what I mean? The only thing is, I don't want him to play too well, because I know if A-Rod retires, Pittsburgh gonna pick this nigga right up. I can see it now. A-Rod retires, and they're like, hey, they might try to throw Penix back out there. Why can't we go get Kirk? I don't want him in Pittsburgh. I want Kirk to have a good career. Right out your last days, he has probably more years behind him than he does have ahead of him. But I don't want him in Pittsburgh, bro. So, you know what I'm saying? But I think he can beat the Saints, though. Eagles versus the Cowboys. I'm going to go to Eagles. Ain't really much to think about. I mean, that defense they were already a good defense, but, man, that defensive performance on Sunday, that's one of the best performances on defense I've seen in quite some time. I mean, I know Pittsburgh, we had a game where we forced 6 turnovers, but for them to hold a opponent offense like the Lions, like damn near 0-4 on 4th down, is wild. Like that's crazy to me. That was really wild. Bucks versus Rams. I'm gonna go to Rams on this one. I think the Rams are probably the second best team in the NFC. I read an NFL Power Rankings on ESPN the other day, and they were saying that they thought the Rams were the best team in the NFL, and I can see why they would say that. But it's really hard to really say that against the Eagles, because even though the Eagles' offense does look putrid sometimes, they win games. And to me, if the offense gets figured out, they're repeating. I just got to be honest. I think, the Rams caught them on that exact same time. They caught them on a time where the offense looked like shit. They even had the defense not playing too well. And then they gave up a huge comeback and lost the game. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like, I could be fooled that, man, the Eagles wouldn't come back under other circumstances or whatever. But it kind of just proved to me, man, this Eagles team, when they want to, is easily the best team in the league. For some reason, they are just struggling mightily on offense. And I think a lot of it is due to the play calling. You know what I'm saying? They just really call some really weird concepts sometimes. But to me, it feels like a fix that I feel like once we start getting closer and closer to playoff time and they're looking more and more vulnerable, somebody has to step in that offense and say, yo, we not going to keep coming out here playing like this. This is ridiculous. So I think, the Cowboys definitely aren't going to be the team that, inspires them to win. I just feel like, now Dak has never been swept by an NFC rival, so in the season, at least from what I read, I don't think he's ever been swept. So maybe he could pull this out, but I'm gonna choose the Eagles. I just think the Cowboys defense, I'm not still moved. I know they got Williams from the Jets. I'm still not really moved on what they could be defensively, and I think the Eagles defense, even with the firepower of the Cowboys offense, they can stifle them. I really do believe that. And last but not least, we have Panthers versus the Niners. I'm gonna go to Niners on this one. Niners, they're looking good. They had a good game last week against the Cardinals where they looked pretty dominant. CMC, he looks like he's back in form for good this time. They got Brock Purdy back. He had a great game. The 49ers are still a good team, even with as much injury, bad luck as this team has had for the duration of how long I've been watching football. They have some of the worst injury luck I've ever seen. This team, to me, still is better than the Panthers. I feel like with this Panthers team, there's still a lot of questions about them where it's like they really squeak out wins, but to me, they're winning games, but to me, I don't really feel like they're a good team. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like the Niners are a better team than them, and I think they can squeak that out. But that is it for NFL Week 12 picks, man. That is it for this episode, man. If you guys like this episode, man, please leave a comment on Instagram. Leave a rating on the show. Leave a comment on the episode, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you're listening to this on. Leave a like on that joint, man. check in with me next week for another episode, man. We gonna have some fire topics next week. I don't know what they gonna be, but they gonna be fire. And until then, I will catch y'all next time. Peace.